Joining me on the podcast this week is singer-songwriter Bomethius. Bomethius has incredible stories. In the podcast, him and I talk about how he became a violinist at 3 years old, how he finished school by the time he was 15, and more amazing stories from back in his day. Hope you guys enjoy.
Hey, are you talking about back in the day?
Nah, man. I'm talking about back in the day.
Back in the day. Back in the day. Back in the day. Back in the day.
Joining us today on the Back in the Day podcast is the very talented Bomethius. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Dude, okay. I'll start off with this. I hit up Travis because I wanted to download your albums before you came in because I like to get familiar with people's stuff. And so I hit up Travis and said, hey, which one of Bomethius's 9,000 albums should I down? You are a writing machine, man. How many albums are you up to?
I just put out my fifth.
Your fifth?
Yeah.
In how many years?
I started in 2017.
Okay.
So
So
four
5 and 4 years.
Yeah.
So is that how often do you write?
Just about every day.
Every day?
Yeah.
Do you just set time out and say, okay, I'm going to write for this amount of time, or is it something that it comes?
Typically, there's something that's happening, and so you have inspiration on something, and then you just kind of keep piecing it together or chipping away at it. So it's not like every day I'm writing a complete song. It's like every day you have to do the work, though.
Yeah.
And so if you're not engaged in the work, I mean, lots of days this week I haven't gotten anything done.
Nothing
but
done?
I tried,
No, that's what I mean. Like, yeah, you'll sit down and you'll just write something, right?
Sure, right.
Because that's the same thing with comedy. So there's times where I write a joke because I need to write this down. Because something happened, I have to make a joke out of that.
Right.
Or there's other times where I sit down and I'm like, you're just gonna write, and hopefully something comes
happens,
to you.
yeah,
and 9 times out of 10, nothing comes. It's just terrible.
But in those moments of like pure inspiration, I find you can't make as good of use of those particular moments if you haven't been sitting down and just writing.
Yeah, you have to have the practice.
Because if you've been doing it all the time and then the inspiration hits, now it's like, it happens.
It makes it a lot easier for sure.
Yeah.
So, you have 5 albums out in 4 years, which is very impressive. And you produce all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's all self-produced.
Yeah, I used one condenser mic and a Scarlett 2i2 and GarageBand.
Nice, man. And are you playing all of the instruments on it?
A lot of them. So this latest record, I was able to work with a bunch of other people. It's like my sister Caroline sings harmony on a track, and I have somebody I work with for drums. I don't do anything percussion wise.
Okay.
And I don't typically play any of the bass parts. And then I just kind of wanted to include more people because there's an aspect where you can kind of take it too far and it just becomes like a narcissistic. It's just kind of unfortunate. You're just like, look at all these cool things I did. And everyone's like, you need friends. And to a certain degree, like you start hearing that at the music where it's like, this guy doesn't have any friends, And so I decided I would make friends.
There you go.
And then, get them to do some of this. And it on the whole, it actually, I think, produces a more organic sound. And it's more varied and interesting because I typically only work with other musicians if they're capable of playing whatever it is. Just play.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to tell you what to do.
Okay.
Serve the song, and don't make it about you because you're an instrumentalist. But play.
Yeah.
Make art. And so if they're capable of that kind of improvisatory work, then I absolutely want to work with them. And then they're bringing their own voice to it.
Yeah.
And so then you end up with all these different vantage points on the same song, and it is way more expansive and interesting than it would have been if I had just done it.
Yeah. So the first four albums, it was mostly you, right?
So the first three
First three were?
Are mostly me. The fourth one is a is a collaboration with my Uncle Dave, who's insane.
Oh, sweet. How was that working with family?
He was actually great. Dave is there's a little backstory about Dave. Dave is a structural engineer who has his degree in aerospace engineering. He has 9 children, shaves his head, is aggressively Roman Catholic, and he only listens to metal.
Okay.
Oh, and he doesn't wear shoes.
He doesn't. Okay. He doesn't.
He's a ridiculous man.
Okay.
And he's incredible. Like, we've just been best friends for most of my life.
And so while he's doing structural, I mean, obviously that's, that's a different brain, right? And then also is a musician on top of that.
Amateur, but yeah.
Yeah.
We've always, our common ground has almost always been in music.
So what did he do on the album? What was his?
He wrote most of the poetry that I turned into lyrics.
Okay.
And so we collaborated on the song subject matter, and then he would write a poem, and then I would take his poetry, and sometimes I would literally, the poetry would be the song, and then sometimes I'd have to kind of workshop it a little bit.
So he didn't like play an instrument on it or anything?
He did end up, the last track, which is called Yoke, he plays the piano part.
Okay.
And he actually wrote that music, and then it's like a duet for violin and piano.
Okay.
I'm a violinist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So how long have you been playing? Did you grow up playing music?
Yeah. So I started violin when I was 3.
Oh shit, dude.
Yeah.
That's intense for a 3-year-old. I can't imagine. I can't get my kids are 7 and 4.
Okay.
And I can't imagine either one of them having the discipline to play violin. Like, how did your...
We don't. My mom had the discipline.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I remember as a kid, I was sitting somewhere, and another mom came up with some social gathering of some kind. Another mom came up to my mom. They're like, how do you get your kids to play stringed instruments? 'Cause I'm the oldest with 6. And she was like, oh, it's just brainwashing. And I looked up at mom, and I was like, it's what? It's brainwashing? She was like, yeah, I mean, in utero, based on their personalities, I decide which string instrument they're going to play. If they're obnoxious, they play the violin. I mean, and if they're stormy and a little aggressive, they play the cello. And if they're just a blockhead, they play the viola. And so, and then as soon as they're born, I just every day tell them, and you're going to play fill in the blank instrument. And we're like, and then eventually we think it's our idea, and we're like, yeah, I've always wanted to play.
So is she a musician herself?
So she always wanted to be. She kind of had a messy childhood that kind of got in the way of her being able to really pursue the violin, but she always really wanted to play. And my great grandfather, her grandfather, had a really large collection of violins, and he was an amateur violinist. And so she had always wanted to play.
Okay.
But it just never worked out.
So did you do orchestra or anything like that in school?
Not in school, because I was homeschooled.
Okay, so you were homeschooled.
I started school when I was 2, violin when I was 3. We didn't take summers off. I didn't find out summer vacation was a thing until I was like 9 or 10. And I was like, Mom, those kids, they aren't in school right now. And she was like, what? We're getting in the car.
Okay, so school at 2. So if you started school at 2, like, were you doing like traditional kindergarten type stuff at 2 years old?
Yeah.
Okay, so by the time you were kindergarten age, what grade were? I mean,
we covered about 2 grades a year.
Goodness. Okay, so when were you done with high school?
I was essentially done with high school when I was 15.
Okay.
15.
Okay, so you're doing violin like crazy, school like even more intense, right? Like you're doing school and violin, and you're homeschooled. What are your interactions like with other kids? Because I would think that like other kids, you probably don't even want to have conversations with them.
Yeah, most of my best friends were 20 or 30 years older than me, which is why Dave and I were such good friends. He was one of the few people that took me seriously. Or took me seriously on my own terms. You know? No, I didn't get along with kids very well. And no one likes the little kid who thinks he's in your grade, you know? You
Yeah.
know, fourth graders, and some little kid comes up, I'm in fourth grade too, and it's like, get the fuck away from me. You stupid what is this?
They're starting to grow a little bit of facial hair.
Yeah.
And you're just like, me too. Like, who are you? Who is this?
Get your diaper changed and never come back.
And by the way, he's like, let me play you. So I was like, where did this violin come from?
Yeah,
I
no.
just carry it with me.
Yeah.
What so where were you getting? I always find it interesting with people that are homeschooled. Like, where did you get your interaction with from other kids? Like church or like anything like that?
Yeah, I at church, and I'm the oldest of 6, so we had each other, right?
Yeah.
That was, I mean, to a varying degree, that was it. I started going to something called the Classical School of Marietta, where I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
And so I went to that, and it was kind of a cohort-based program, pretty small, and husband and wife that taught everything, Steve and Terry Gilchrist. And once you were in your class, you would just all move up together. So there were like 14, 15 kids in your class, and everything is just a round table Socratic method discussion. So you might be doing history, Latin, logic, rhetoric, memorization, etc. But it's all just around the table for, from 9 to 3 once a week.
Okay.
And so we would do that. And I think I finished like 5 years of that. So you become pretty close with the other people.
Yeah.
But even there, I was still 3 or 4 years younger than everyone in my thing. So
I
I
started
was
at
still
2.
the obnoxious, irritating kid. That
Nice.
And true to form, I don't really speak to anyone from my class
No?
except the teacher. Like he's one of my best friends, but I'm not close with anybody else.
Are you okay? So, are you when you're at church? Did you play music
Yeah.
in church?
Yeah. We started going to an all-black church.
Okay.
A few years before we left Atlanta. My mom got really heavily involved in political work in Atlanta, and so we just became part of the community and came down there, and it was like a awesome community garden, and it was in West End, Atlanta, which 10 years ago or so wasn't a super safe place to be for anyone. But
Okay.
if you're translucent the way that I am, it definitely wasn't a great place. And then if you multiply it by 6 more of us, it was very strange. I remember we walked in and the ushers, they were twins, big black guys, and they looked at us, and there was like a triple take. And finally one goes, what are y'all doing here? We're like, we're here to worship God. They thought that we were spies from the Bush administration for years.
Seriously? What did they think you were doing?
They thought that we were there to observe whether or not Reverend Bright was saying nice things about the president or not. I don't know. Eventually, we did win them over.
Nice.
But at some point, we'd only been going a few weeks. They found out that I played violin.
Mhm.
And they were like, well, you should come and play. And my mom was like, you are definitely going to come and play. And I was like, I don't know about that. And she remembered my violin for me the next Sunday. And we come in and he get up to the front and there is no music stand and there is no music. And we're playing in G sharp major minor. And I have no idea what's going on. And I was like, what am I supposed to do? They're like, just play. And I was like, just play? And it couldn't have been wider. Gee, guys, what is this treble clef? What are we doing in here? And they're like, no, man, you got to feel the music, And it was horrible. I played really bad for quite a few weeks in a row. And I think around the 4th or 5th week, I finally got it.
Had you been to other churches before going to this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I grew up in super white,
Okay.
Very super Calvinistic.
Because
Reformed.
if the listeners have never been to a all black church,
Yeah.
it's a different experience. I used to do ministry work out in South Dallas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so a couple of our kids would get baptized, and we would go to the church service for that. Right?
Yeah.
It's like an all day event.
Oh, no.
And there's no there's no there's no end in sight. There's no end in sight.
And as the Spirit leads.
And there's no we got there, like traditionally if you've been to church a lot, like if you're someone that goes to church, usually like It's worship.
Yeah.
Then there's some kind of announcement.
Yeah.
Then there's a sermon.
Yeah.
Then like
communion.
Then they sing. Then they then they pray over the whatever. And then the worship team usually comes back, does one last song,
and
then you
go
go home.
yeah.
Right.
And it's all done in about an hour.
Yeah, about an hour,
30
hour and a
minutes,
half.
yeah.
Depends on what type of
how white it is.
Yeah. The church I grew up in, our preacher really liked to hear himself talk. So like he usually did like a 55-hour long sermon. And then we'd have like 35, 40 minutes of song. So it was about a 2-hour ordeal.
Yeah.
So I remember my buddy telling me, he's like, hey dude, like it's going to be a little bit longer. And I was like, nah, dude, dude, the church I grew up in, man, it was like an hour, 45 minutes, 2 hours.
No,
I'm
you're
used
looking
to
at 4 to 5 hours.
Show up to the first one we went to, and I'm used to that structure, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna do we're gonna sing about 5-6 songs. Someone's gonna do some kind of announcement.
Yeah.
Sermon's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a video they play,
Sure,
whatever,
yeah.
right? There's songs.
Testimony.
Yeah, someone came up, did a testimony.
And then they have the hour of prayer. That's
yeah.
literally an hour.
Yeah. Then there was now it's time for the dance. Yeah. What's the dance? Right, there's. I was like, is there a program that I can
like
follow along?
It's the part where you're like, oh, okay. You said there was gonna be a dance. Hold on now. Why?
There was a dance. Then there was a baptism. The baptism, because we went there for baptism.
Right. That was the whole point.
Yeah, it was the whole point. We're there for the baptisms. The baptism was like, I would say 65% of the congregation got baptized that day. and one of our
some of this was repeat baptism, right?
Yeah. One of our kids goes, man, I didn't want to tell my granny that we were going for the baptism. And I was like, why not? Why didn't you tell your grandma that you're going to the baptism? He goes, I don't want to tell my granny because I knew that if she knew I was going to baptism, she's going to make me get baptized again. I go, what do you mean again? And he goes, I've already been baptized 4 times, Coach Mike. I go, that's a one-time thing. It's not, whatever.
No.
So that happens. The baptism happens. Yeah. We see about 97 people get baptized.
Oh, so much
And then
salvation.
more songs came, right? And then a sermon happened, but that was like a pre-sermon.
Yeah, it was getting us ready.
Yeah,
he was the hype man for the
he was
real
a pre-sermon.
sermon.
And he talked a lot about Bud Light.
Okay,
there was
good.
a lot of Bud Light
talks
happening.
Yeah, he was talking about some elbow bending.
Yeah, so I can imagine you as this 15-year-old that's really, or how old were you when?
Oh, I was like 10. 11,
okay, 10.
12, yeah.
Okay.
No, dude, it was bad. I had the bad teeth,
imagine.
the glasses. Nothing about my life was going right for me.
Yeah.
My dad was still cutting my hair. Okay,
I can just imagine 10-year-old you who's really like 36.
Yeah.
And you're just like, trying to play that violin, trying to keep up. They ain't even get,
and the musicians are incredible.
Yeah.
Like, people, I don't think often realize, like, if you want music, you go to an all-black church because those people feel it.
Well, if you hear
It's happening.
there's a lot of musicians that, that have, like famous musicians, and that's where they got their start.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like, Jamie Foxx, I started singing in the church. John Legend, I started singing in the church. Like all, and I wouldn't consider even some of those guys being like crazy religious. And it's like, that's where it's like, that's where I grew up. That's what I have, that's where I got cut my teeth.
They granny was going to have him get baptized for the 7th time.
So that's awesome, man. Okay. So we go from, how many years did you play at the church?
2 or 3, I think.
Okay. So 2 or 3. You're in the Atlanta area.
And that was kind of like the moment that music became something more for me.
Okay.
Because like growing up, I didn't like it.
No?
I wasn't having a great time. And then that happened, and I was like, wait, there's more to life than just, these horrible Suzuki books.
Well, because, okay, so at this point, before 10, 11, had you ever really performed music, or was it just in
Sure, I've been in,
like a recital
studio
or something?
recitals, but also I'd been in the Metropolitan Youth Symphony of Atlanta.
Okay.
Which was actually pretty good. Like, we toured and like went to Savannah, Georgia for like big deal things, and so I'd been playing in that.
What do you think the difference was? Because you said like now, after doing that is when you finally realize like, okay, this could be like, this is what I love. Do you think it was like maybe that freedom?
Oh, absolutely, it was the freedom. It was like, because the violin is such an expressive thing. If you'd only ever heard, the old school canonized Western classics, you wouldn't really know all the incredible things a violin can do. But when you're playing alongside jazz and blues, and I mean, you have so much, you can do whatever you want. There are all these crazy cool sounds that you can make, and the more technical prowess you have, the more fun you can have. But it is absolute freedom, and the crazier it is, the more excited everyone is. You know?
Yeah.
So it's just so much better, and it's an expression of who you are, as opposed to having to go on stage in this stiff, uptight, sterile environment and regurgitate whatever it is that someone told you was the right way to play what someone else wrote who's been dead for centuries.
Yeah, and that every kid that plays the violin
Has to
in the
play.
country is playing.
Right.
Right? And then so now you're getting a chance to like
Say something that's truly you.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So you move from did you move from Atlanta to Texas?
Yeah.
Like straight from
We
Atlanta
went,
to
we went
Texas?
from Atlanta to Austin.
To Austin?
Yeah.
At what age did you move to Austin?
I was 14.
14?
14, 15.
So did you graduate high school at 15?
I mean, not. I just had nothing really left to do.
Okay.
Like we got out there and like for a year or so, I did like math and something else. And then Dad got cancer.
Okay.
Like, shortly after we got there. And at that point, I really like. There was nothing else. Like my, what do you call it? What is that called? Like it's not a syllabus, but the catalog of things that you have done up until that point. I don't know. I can't remember that word. Anyway,
Like your degree track
it was
or whatever.
full. Like there's nothing left.
So what did you do at that point?
Mom decided to go and pursue, I think massage school or something. Because if Dad died, she wanted to have some way of making money. She didn't have a degree. Dad did not die.
Okay,
He's
good.
Okay. Yeah. I like to hold that tension a little.
I was like, I don't know if I want to ask a lot of questions. Did he cry? You know, like I'm not know what direction.
I mean,
I can do it. I can do it if I need to.
Let's do it.
But
no, he's fine. The fat man is okay. So I helped take care of the family a lot, and we had a really extensive library that my mom's dad had collected over the course of his life, and he'd already given it to us. And so I read through our library and did a lot of dishes. I cleaned a lot of toilets.
okay.
But I read the entirety of the Encyclopedia Britannica Great Books, which is 52 volumes from Plato to Freud.
Okay.
So
Okay. And then so did you do any more school after that?
yeah,
or-
so after Dad recovered, things kind of came back to normal. It was a very traumatic, horrible time. And then we like moved to a new house, and then my mom was like, "You are gonna go to public school."
Oh shit.
And I was like, "Why?" And she was like, "Because you have just experienced a really traumatic, horrible thing, and you need to kind of figure out how to go be a person with other people your age and
Man,
do all that kind of thing."
I can only imagine how much you hated public school after already experiencing everything after already completing everything that needed to be completed. Then you
Yeah.
read 52 Encyclopedia Britannicas. I can just imagine showing up to, if anyone's a teacher that listens to this podcast, hey, you're doing great things. It's not your fault, but I personally think our public school system is really stupid.
Yeah.
Not all of it, but there's
Sure.
a lot
Not all
of it
but a
that's
lot of it is
really, really
truly
dumb.
incredibly bad.
And I just remember 14-year-old Michael thinking some of the things that we did were incredibly dumb and pointless, and I hadn't already completed it.
Well, sure. Like one of the things that wasn't on my transcript.
Transcript, yeah, there you go, there you
That
go.
wasn't on my transcript. Most of which they just completely rejected.
Oh, they're like,
by the
you
way.
need to come to.
Which is really hysterical because colleges in Texas are required by law in Texas to accept a homeschool transcript on the same grounds that they would any other. And my transcript was filled with a lot of serious things that you wouldn't even necessarily get at most colleges today. So I was furious for a long
I understand
time.
that.
But one of the things that wasn't even on my transcript was geography, because as far as I'm concerned, you take geography when you're young because you still have the mental capacity to memorize things really quickly.
Yeah.
So people should have already dealt with that.
I'm pretty sure I took that
prior
like in
to
6th
high school.
grade.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so they were like, "Well, you don't have geography, so you're going to have to take geography." And I'm like, okay. Essentially, like coming in, I was only going to be there for 2 years, but I had to cram 4 years of credits into 2 years. So that meant taking
I'm used to this.
credit by exams. The credit by exams were written by UT Austin. They were not written by the person teaching this course.
Yeah.
They had nothing to do with that. There were people that had made straight A's in these courses that never could have passed these exams.
Yeah.
And then, but geography. And then when you actually got into the geography class, your grade wasn't contingent upon whether or not you knew the names of states and countries and capitals. It was, can you color this map we printed off and stay in the lines and match the color-coded key that we've provided so that you can waste all your time and the gym teacher who's been assigned to teach this course can continue drawing a paycheck for being a worthless member of society. And I wasn't happy about it.
Yeah, hey, I understand it, man. I'll tell you. Okay. So I got my degree from OU in 2008. Okay, all right, and then in
that was a great year for me.
Yeah, was it?
No.
Oh, okay. So I in 2011 I decided I was going to go get a second degree.
Okay. What did you get your degree in?
My degree's in theater. Okay. So I decided I was going to get a business degree in 2011 because, as you can probably imagine, there's not a lot of companies that are like, we need that theater degree.
Yeah, right.
So
Chick-fil-A, I've heard.
Yeah, no, not even them. They don't take that. You got to have more than that.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Is that
you got to
the
really
delivery that we're looking for?
need to deliver it right. So 2011, I decided to get this other degree. And there's a lot of classes that I could take at a community college because I didn't have any business classes. So to me, it was smart financially. Take them at the community college level and then transfer them, right? They were so dead set on me sending them my high school transcript.
They really wanted that.
And I was like, I don't have my high school transcript.
Who does?
And they were like, well, you need your high school transcript. And I was like, I have a college degree.
Yeah. You can't have the college degree unless you had that one. So let's just take that.
So I was talking to the lady on the phone I was like, I have about 15 copies of my college transcript. You know, the college that is above the education that I'm going to receive from your community college. This is a bachelor's degree. Everyone has a bachelor's degree. It's not that big of a deal. But it's a bachelor's degree. You get an associate's degree. I have one of those too. Can I give you that? And she was like, no. You need the high school transcript to sign up for this class. I was like, can I talk to somebody else? Because this makes no sense.
Sure. It's the bureaucratic mindset. It's like, I had a form and the form said, and I just can't.
So I can't imagine young you at 15 who is, like you already said, all of your people that you really understood you more were way older, right?
Oh yeah.
And so I can imagine that you just going in there and having to deal with all of that checking the box.
I was very angry.
One time, and I'm sure maybe this happened to you. One time I had an assignment where the header that a lot of classes want you to do, like first name, then the date, and then the class period, or whatever, right? I put it on the left-hand side.
Oh, no.
And this teacher wanted on the right-hand side. So she lowered my grade, a full letter grade.
Awesome.
And I said to her, so...
just the eye, like the middle finger of the eye. And just like...
Just the conversation. And I was like...
I don't even know how to explain to you how dumb you are. Because you wouldn't understand.
And just the things that happen in the school system. Okay, here, okay. We're going on tangent here for a second. I'm just gonna, but okay. Yeah, all right. The thing that is annoying to me about public education, and maybe even private education, I've never went through private education, so I don't know.
Right.
But public school education is that you have a group of people that are preparing you to live in the real world,
supposedly,
that have never lived in the real world.
Right, yeah.
So you have this group of people that, because most people, and maybe not all school districts, you become a teacher, right? And then you're like, and they see like, oh, you have some leadership potential. So you become a teacher at 22, 23 years old. So like at like 30, like you should get your master's so you can become a principal, right? So then you get your master's, you become a principal, you're the assistant principal. Then after a little bit while, they let you become the main principal, right?
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, you're such a good principal, you should be on the school board. So you get on the school board. So from 5 years old You went to school until 18. Then you went to college for 4 years. Then you went to become a teacher. Then you became a principal.
Never lived
you never
in the real world.
lived a real world, and you're trying to show all of these people this is what happens in the real world. No, it doesn't. Miss Sinclair, who gave me a freaking tardy every single time the train was there and made me late.
Right.
The 5 times that happened, and I had to come up on a freaking Saturday to make it up because you said in the real world, when you get a job in the real world, they're not gonna allow you to be late because of the train. Incorrect, Miss Sinclair.
I was 30 minutes late to this podcast, and they thanked me for it. All right.
Yeah. Incorrect, Miss Sinclair. Anytime I'm late, I text my boss and say I'm running late, and they say, no problem. Get here when you can.
Because we can trust our employers with our phone numbers because they're not going to have inappropriate relationships with us.
Right?
Okay, but yeah. What was it? No, but I mean, this is the thing. Like, I think the same thing happens in college. Like, in college, it actually pisses me off more because you go into far more debt to go to college where we're supposedly holding ourselves to some big standard. And like, for me, it was like the music education world. Oh, dude, so bad. I mean, it's just because the way that it typically is structured is you come in and you audition for music school and they're like, oh, that wasn't actually very good. But you know what? You can't be a performance major. No one wants to hear that. But you could be a music education major. What other thing that exists at all where would you be like, you're not very good at that, but you could teach other kids to do it that have never been, exposed to anything at all and wouldn't know any better. And so what does that do? It's a cycle of mediocrity that's just perpetuated.
I will say this for my school, okay? For OU, when we came to audition for that school, the head of the department sat there and said, if you want to become a theater teacher, you're at the wrong school.
Nice.
This is not what our program is.
Nice.
Our program is to. They're nothing against people that want to be teachers.
Sure.
They're like, obviously we are all teachers.
I am a music teacher.
Yeah,
right.
They're like nothing against educators that teach theater. Like obviously everyone on this floor. He's like, but the difference is like all of us were professionals. And then we decided to do this later on in life because we wanted more of a family life or whatever. Like if this is a professional preparation institution. Exactly. And so if you want to do this professionally, this is where you want to go.
Right.
Honestly, they're like, don't even audition if this is not, if you know what I mean? Like we're trying to prepare you to live in that. So my college experience, I felt like got me prepared to do it professionally. But dude, there's just so much red tape. But we're gonna move on from this because
before we burn every bridge.
Because honestly, hey, I need to apologize to Miss Sinclair because as I was talking, I realized you weren't the English teacher that it was actually Miss Holland.
And
so
Miss Holland, let's definitely use the real names. That's
these are real names. So Miss Holland, if you are listening to this, which I think we're Facebook friends, so I hope you download this episode. You can be late in real life. I'm telling you.
Just in case you've been living your whole life like that, I mean, that's a lot of anxiety and fear. And I just wouldn't want you to have to continue carrying that around.
Be late if you need to, girl. Just text your employer. It's not a big deal. Yeah. Okay. So you go to school. When do you start playing guitar?
So growing up, my dad would play guitar. I mean, it's pretty amateur, but he would play. And I, even though I was taking violin lessons, I was always like, guitar is where it's at. Like I can remember Dad playing a G chord, and I was like, that is really cool. Can we make that happen? And my parents were like, no, we don't have money for that. And so my violin teacher, Marla Feeney, she's really great, and she plays like 1 million instruments. It's pretty incredible, and all at a really high level. She owned this studio that she would teach out of, and she had a bunch of really crappy instruments for, when kids would come in and try stuff. And so she had this all pink guitar and an action, between the string and the fretboard. It's like that high, and like there's no way anyone can play this. And she was like, I'm going to throw this away. Do you want it? And I was like, I do want it. That is my only hope to ever become a guitarist. And she was like, okay. And so she gave it to me, and I went home and I'd play it all the time. And like strings were broken off, like everything was bad. And eventually I think my dad was like, this is actually a hazard. Like you're gonna need like 4 more tetanus shots just to continue playing this. So let's just get rid of it. And then I would periodically like pick up his old guitar. So I was just like always doodling around with it. I always wanted it. At some point I saved up enough money that I could like, Costco had this like gig bag, really small piece of garbage amp, and then like the Starcaster, the Fender Starcaster. Truly terrible guitar, but I was really excited about this, and so I saved up and I got it, and it sounded really bad, and I practiced on that for a long time, and it was just not really going anywhere. And then just as time went on, I was able to I think at some point I like got a classical guitar and some other stuff. So I was always just wanted to do it.
What age were you when you started writing and recording music?
So I started writing my own stuff and probably around 15, 16. So I started writing my own stuff when Dad had cancer.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the only way to cope with it. Because like it is nice that he recovered, but in the moment we actually did think he wasn't going to make it. Like it was really bad, and like every time we went to the doctor, it was just like worse news, and then all his hair is falling out, and he doesn't really want to get up anymore, and like everything's horrible.
Yeah, of course.
So I started like composing string quartets and symphonias, and then I heard my little brother Charles playing piano one day, and I was horrified because he was playing something that I definitely couldn't play, and I had a really low opinion of the piano as an instrument because all the keys are there, you just press the button, like it's not that hard. But he was doing something I couldn't, and I was like, well, that's not okay. I need that. Yeah, let's go and play piano for 5 hours straight until we can do at least that much. And then I just kept going with it because piano, there's all this power. Like it really is just press the key and the button. And if you press 2 and you got an octave, and then you have all this sound, and you can just you're arpeggiating and banging away, and you sound like you know so much and you know nothing, but you can convince everyone that you do. And so that's kind of fun. So I did that.
Okay.
So I was writing instrumental music and piano music before I was writing songs.
When did you start putting lyrics to your stuff?
Yeah. I would say that didn't really happen until like a week before I left for college.
Okay.
I did this ridiculous, as I have this friend, Nate Zivin from high school in Austin. He's one of the silliest people I've ever met. And I was over at his place because he'd kind of moved down close to me in South Austin. And it was like a week or two before I was going to go to Seattle to start college. And he had this piece of garbage like MIDI synthesizer. And he was like, dude, I found this in a dumpster and I fixed it up and it works. And it sounds really good.
Wait,
and I was like,
what was he doing
sure
in that dumpster?
I have no idea. And honestly, Nate Zivin could have been doing anything. There's no reason to limit your imagination if you don't want to. We like messed around on it, and then he was like, well, let's record a song. And I was like, okay. And like in the back of my head, I'd always wanted to like be able to record something and make something, but I had no idea how to do it. And I just assumed it was a lot of money, and I had no money. And so we made this song, and it was really strange and ridiculous. And then I was like, we need to just make an entire album like right now. And he was like, okay. I'm always the one that's a little more forceful in the relationship, really wants to do something. And Nate is like, as long as it's fun. And then I make it not fun. He's like, I probably don't want to do that anymore. I'm like, we can't do it. And so we wrote like a song a night that entire week. And we ended up with like 6 or 7 tracks, and we had like a little EP. And then I went off to college, and we'd record all this stuff. And we would write the songs, and I'd write the lyrics, and I'd write all this stuff as we recorded it. And it was like super fun and silly. And
do you still have those recordings?
yeah, it's actually on my Bandcamp. It's
Okay.
the record is called The Dressing to My Salad.
Okay.
And the band was called The Street We Can't Pronounce.
Nice. I will definitely check that out. That is awesome. Okay, so you get to college.
Yeah.
When do you start writing? So, okay, when did you finish college, or when did you stop going?
Yeah, so I started in Seattle, and then about halfway through sophomore year, I transferred to SMU here in Dallas. And then I graduated in 2019.
Okay,
Yeah.
So while in school, you wrote 2 albums. You did.
I did 3 records while I was in school. Yeah, so I started writing when I came to SMU, and then I was a transfer student again, and coming
they love transfer students.
And not only that, I was coming in with a quarter system to semesters here, and they don't like that at all, which I have all sorts of problems with that, because quarters is actually more information squeezed into less time. And you do 3 quarters in the time that they're messing around with 2 semesters, where it's actually so long that the teacher doesn't know how to like structure the time. So you just waste most of your time. I was very angry. I'm
on your side.
Ended up graduating. It was okay. But when I got there, I was just in a bad mood all the time. And I used to sit I was in this, I had to take a music history course, but it was a survey music history course. And I hate survey courses with a passion. But the professor was actually a very intelligent, fantastic guy. He was entertaining. So if you're going to have to take a survey course, this was the best one. And I used to sit on the front row of his class and fall asleep. And then I would get up and tell him what he got wrong and then leave. And one day, I managed to finally get comfortable in my seat, and I was falling asleep. And then I heard him say that Rome fell in 456. And I was like, what? And I sat up in my chair and I wrote down that he had said that, and then I went back to sleep. And then I got up at the end of class and I walked up to him and was like, I don't know if it was like an accident or what, but you said this and then you also projected it onto the screen. We can debate whether or not Rome fell or merely changed locations, but Rome fell in 476, if that's what you're going to say. It wasn't 456. So the least you could do is at least Wikipedia search the things you want to put in your lectures before you show them to people that wouldn't know any better. And then I left. And I got an email from him a few days later, and I saw his name. I was like, oh no, he didn't like that. I guess the gig's up. And I opened it and I was like, Jonathan, would you have some time to meet with me this week? And I was like, okay. So I found some time and I came into his office and he was really excited to see me. I thought for sure I was going to get reamed out or something. And he was like, so Jonathan, why are you here? And I was dumbfounded. I had nothing to say. And I was like, well, I think I'm here because my parents want me to be here. And he was like, yeah, that's not a very good reason. So you need to find a reason, because while you are here, you could be doing something legitimate. Because this is obviously not worth your time. So you need to find what that is. And then you need to use your time accordingly, because I actually see if you're going to be here, you actually have a gift in that you have a surplus of time where you can do something.
Yeah.
And so like a week or 2 later, I realized that I wanted to write songs. And so I started writing songs and I started recording them, and then I just never stopped.
Nice.
And so every spare minute I had, I spent writing and recording. So that guy changed, turned my life around.
Good, man. Well, I'm glad you had a teacher that did that for you.
Yeah,
right?
we're still great friends.
Good.
It's a great thing.
So, okay. So you've written all these albums. How often, I mean, obviously pandemic happened, but before that, how often are you going out and performing? Like, what is your style of trying to perform? Are you hitting open mics? Are you trying to get on the road? What is it that you're trying to do?
So I was so busy in school, like in orchestra and stuff like that. Orchestra, eats up all your time, because it's like, what were the hours? Like 3 to 6 every day of the week, And you're like, there's no way you can do anything. And then you have to teach so you can make some money so you're not just drowning in debt for the rest of your life. And so
study.
Yeah, well, no.
Or go to class. Did you go to class?
Sometimes. But
well, then what's 3 to 6 ain't that much time. you're like, man, those 3 hours.
Well, you did have to practice though.
Okay. Because I was gonna give you like I was gonna be like, dude, I get it, man. That's how it was with us for theater. Like I had class all day, then I had to rehearse, and then I had to do stuff, and I would get home at like 10. And then if I had like a paper or whatever, but then I'm talking to you about going to class. You're like, well, I'm really good at class.
Well, I mean, so I did go to class.
Okay.
But there were certain classes you just definitely didn't go to, or you wouldn't pay attention to.
Were you on scholarship, like a music scholarship?
That's the only way I could have
And
gone.
they didn't make you go to class?
Oh, sure. I mean, sort of. Yes.
Dude, I had to get something signed.
Oh, really?
Every class, I had this little binder that I would go up at the end of. Like seriously, it was like orange. It was like an orange, like old school folder, right, with the binder like in it. And I'd go to the teacher and I'd be like, "Here you go."
Yeah,
and
right.
Initial it and stuff.
I mean, so I suppose I wasn't this nonchalant when I was actually in school. So I did go to most of my classes. I actually think my wife went to fewer classes than I did, but she was such an incredible pianist that no one really cared. I remember we were in this, we had to take, they want you to have a well-rounded education, which is surely just so that they can charge you more.
Yeah.
Because you're not
Of
actually
course.
going to know anything. But we had to take like this electrical engineering course that was taught by this man who was definitely past his 90s or something. And he would stand up there, deep Texas drawl. And for some reason, he was just really excited about the fact that the Tesla existed, like the car, the Tesla. And he used to like punctuate his sentences with "all right," and like that was how he ended "all right." And he used to just go on these rants, and then the thing that would end the rant was always, "I mean, you take it, you have a Tesla, you drop a Tesla in the bathtub. What do you have now? All right." And he would just say that, and there would be silence in the room, and that was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. So if you're ever like trying to do stand up sometime and it's just not working, just all of a sudden be like, you have a Tesla, you drop it in the bathtub. What do you have now?
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just talk
And then
about
just bask in the silence.
like, damn, there's a Tesla, right? Just like, like why did he just say the Tesla all of a sudden?
right.
So
We didn't go to that class was the point of that story.
Okay.
We just stopped going.
Yeah, I can understand that.
I think I got a B. And
Nice.
we never showed up again.
There you go, man. Did okay, so we were talking about like trying to get like, so you were saying you were real busy with everything that so you weren't able
Sure.
to gig.
So performing. I would perform at like open mics, like owning coffee.
Yeah. I know that
I'd
place.
perform there frequently. That was really like the only place that I had time for. And then I got in with So Far Sounds.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you know of them. And I did a bunch of shows with them, and I was playing like improv violin with another artist. And then I finally got my own solo shows with them, which is a really big deal because if you get in with them in one city, you're in everywhere, all over the world.
In the So Far Sounds?
Yeah.
So I just kind of discovered, I don't 100% know what it is,
Sure.
but I discovered it maybe about a month ago.
Okay.
Do you know D and Chi?
Yeah.
Okay, so Darren is on the podcast
Oh,
as well.
nice.
And so I was looking at some of his stuff or some of their stuff, and I saw the So Far thing.
Nice.
I guess they did it as well.
I didn't know he was a So Far.
What does that mean?
So So Far is like it was started in London,
Okay.
I think. Two guys were just super pissed off with how live music goes. Just how like you're there and you can't really hear the guy, and everyone's talking and drunk, and it's just dumb. And so they started this thing in their like living room where they would have the artist come play, and then they just have a few friends over, and like there were like 3 rules: you don't talk, you're not on your phone, something else. I can't remember what the other one is. But that's it. And so they just started, it just became this massive industry that was its own thing. But the way it's structured is that the people that buy tickets for a show, you kind of know like the neighborhood of the city that it's in, but you don't know where it is until the night of.
Okay.
And you don't know who's performing. And the artists, we know a few weeks before where it's going to be, but we don't know who else is performing either.
And so you don't promote where it's at, right?
No,
you just say.
you can't.
Do you even say I'm on? No, you don't say.
You can tell them which show. Like you can say buy tickets for this show, and then your people will know.
Okay.
But I mean, I have no following. So
Well, there was, if my memory serves me right, there was someone was trying to do that with comedy a while back.
Oh, really?
Where they called it No Show.
these secret
Yeah,
shows.
it was like No Show or something. It was like text this number to find out, but there's no show or something like that. And it was like
Right.
whatever,
Yeah,
and then
okay.
you would text the number and it'd give you the information about it.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Did
So-
it work?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't think it's around now, so I guess not.
right.
But
Now it truly is no
yeah,
show.
now there's
isn't
literally
it?
not a show. So is that kind of the scene that you would like to do, like more of those intimate type stuff?
That's the kind of stuff I love, right? So I did do one full show by myself with So Far. It was like a week before everything shut down. And it was sold out. There were over 70 people there. I didn't know anyone there, and all these people they were just there to listen and engage with what you had to say. And it was really nice.
Sweet. So is the plan to kind of try to do more stuff like that?
Yeah, I want to do more intimate stuff. Because and ultimately, I think at some point I'd really like to be able to structure a show that's like part stories, sort of that are comedic in nature, kind of, and then put those together with songs and kind of
Okay.
just interweave it all together. Because I've had a lot of silly, ridiculous experiences, and a lot of them are hilarious. So I feel like it would be.
So more, I don't want to call it a variety show, but something kind of like, I don't want to call it.
Yeah, I don't know what to call it.
I feel like maybe a variety show might cheapen what it is that you're doing because like you're trying to go up there and do bits like
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
not
like
that,
yeah,
right?
but it's more like storytelling
It's
with music.
storytelling with music.
Yeah, that's cool. I really hope you do that.
That's what I'd
Like,
really
I
like to
think you
start
should
doing. Yeah.
really do that because that, I mean, you are a good storyteller.
Oh, thanks.
Just from this podcast, and I've heard you on other podcasts, and you are a good storyteller, and you obviously are a writing machine. So put that stuff together. You know what I mean? And just go do it.
Yeah.
So okay, so name of my podcast is Back in the Day. Okay. Focus on talking about stories from your heyday, right? We talked about that. And each season, I have kind of a theme that I'm gonna hit on. And this season, I'm talking about stories from like your first job. Do you have any stories for me? Okay.
I mean, I have some stories. Well, actually, no. This is technically my first job after college.
Well, what was your first? Like, what about as a teenager? Did
So
you have any jobs?
as a teenager, my parents really wanted me to get one of these minimum wage, like work in a restaurant,
yes,
whatever.
that's what I want.
But I refused to
Okay.
do it. Like
All
they
right.
would always be like, "Did you fill out applications?" And I'd be like, "Yes." And they'd be like,
They're just not calling
Did
me.
they get back to you? I was like, no. They're like, why, Jonathan? And I'd be like, well, they asked how many languages I spoke, and I put sarcasm in Latin. So I don't think they're gonna call.
So you never worked?
And so I founded a company called Mail Made Services.
Okay.
And I would clean your house for $100.
Did you get people
I
that?
had clients.
How many did you have?
A few. I don't know. I think I did some work for the company my dad was working for. They had like a warehouse or something, like a maid office. And so I cleaned that place. And then I cleaned some people's houses, and because I just didn't want to go outside. I'm very indoorsy.
Well,
And most people don't want to clean a toilet. It's not that hard. And you get paid really good to just be inside in the air conditioning.
and I can understand that too, like not wanting to work some job that you're gonna make $6-7 an hour.
And you have to work so many hours. I
Yeah.
was busy trying to practice and like, and I mean, to this day, they give me a bad time, but I was like, well, look, my audition that I spent all those hours that you wanted me to make minimum wage for no reason all those hours of practicing, my audition got me scholarships worth over $200,000.
Yeah.
So you tell me which one was worth more.
Well, because you had, what was it? Mail made what? What was it?
Mail Made Services.
Mail made services. Me and my friend had the lawn boys.
Oh, nice.
We had a lawn service, and we got in trouble with the postal service.
Oh.
Because we drove around town and we put flyers in mailboxes. Okay.
Oh.
And I remember
It's
as
illegal,
we were
right?
doing it, I was like, this is 100% illegal.
Yeah.
Right? Like I was like so like, and we were driving around neighborhoods, and one of us would take turns driving while the other one would just we're outside of the car, just like
Good.
while we were driving. It's like, I mean,
Which
we were
is
hitting,
also a very safe way.
so many mailboxes we hit. And my friend got the call from the United States Postal Service, and because our phone numbers are on there, obviously, right? 'Cause we're trying to get gigs, and they called us and called him and said, "Hey, this is a warning. We can't see any more of these. You can't, whatever. Blah blah blah. You're gonna get this big fine." He calls me. He's like, "Dude, I just got this call. Blah 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 blah." And I was like, "Yeah, man, I was kind of wondering, right?" I was like, "That's for sure illegal." And he goes, "You knew that?" I go, "Yeah, dude. You can't just be putting stuff in the mailboxes."
Why were you doing that? You had to turn the
I was
whole
like,
thing on him.
Can't
and
put
just
stuff
hang
in,
up.
we can't put stuff in mailboxes, man. Like, you don't know how. I was like, he's like, "So you knew that all along?" It's like, "Yeah, I mean, I didn't think we get caught. Like, like we're not like, and I was like, I don't even know how we got caught." And probably what happened was we probably put them in a mailbox where someone was like out of town, and so then like
the
when
mailman came up and he was
saw
like-
it or whatever. So we had like maybe 5 customers the entire summer, but that again
was that enough?
Again, well, not really. I mean,
Okay.
Again, same thing like you're talking
Was
about.
it
like,
worth prison?
Yes, it was. It was worth the attempted felony that we almost committed. But like what you said, I could go work at Burger King or whatever place
Sure.
that was going to hire me.
Sure.
And I would have probably worked all summer and maybe made $1,000.
Right.
So why not just do that? Make a few $100
And for me, it was like literally, if you're going to be a violinist and you expect to competitively compete for scholarship offers at the collegiate level, you literally have to spend all of your time preparing for that.
Yeah.
You don't have time to get a minimum wage job.
Well, there's a lot of the people that are on scholarship besides academic scholarships.
Sure.
Like if you're in sports or if you're in, anything in the arts,
Right.
you don't have time to work those jobs. And the kids that do that have to work those jobs, I feel bad for it. I had friends that were like, I had no time to have a job in theater when I was in theater. It was nonstop.
Right.
What I would do is I'd work the summer and
Sure.
that would be my money for the rest,
Sure.
or whatever. But I had friends that would work like overnights at like a hotel so that they could like, I was like, God, I can't imagine doing all of that school and that. Luckily,
And
I
then
didn't have
having
to do that.
Right.
But okay, question for you. If money wasn't money's not an object. Money doesn't matter.
Right.
Okay. Money doesn't matter. Time commitment doesn't matter. Travel, any of that doesn't matter. Okay. Besides music, what's the one thing that you would do for a career? You can do anything you want. Money doesn't matter. Who cares what it pays you?
No, I would just do what I'm doing right now.
You can't do that.
No, I
You're
really
not
would.
doing it, though.
That's really what I would do.
But is there any other interest you have besides that? Like,
No, not
No?
really. I mean, I don't. I guess I could do nothing.
so you're like, I would just collect unemployment. If I could,
Well, I mean, you're saying money's not an option. I mean,
yeah.
that's basically how I'm living my life right now. Is that money isn't the object?
Well, but
And I'm
you
doing
got to
it anyway.
teach so that you can
So I would stop teaching.
you stop teaching, and then you would just gig, right? Or
Well, I would just
or
keep
write.
writing.
Just write.
Yeah.
Because do you like the performance aspect
I
of it,
love
or
the
do you like the
performance.
writing aspect more?
So, I mean, I grew to love the recording and the writing aspect because that was all I had time to do. And so I tend to bloom where I'm planted. If that's my lot, I'll try to make the best and have the most fun doing this that I can. But now that I've started, now that I have a catalog of stuff and I can do a show that's well over an hour and only play my own work, I would much rather do that.
Yeah.
Like, that sounds great. And like connect with people and get to know them and, be vulnerable on some level. That's what I really want to be doing. But I also want to be writing and doing all the things that I'm already doing.
Well,
What would you do?
What would I do?
Yeah.
Man, don't turn the questions on me. I would
This man's
do,
about to say, I would not be here right now. I'll tell you.
I would do some kind of volunteer work.
You are definitely getting into heaven.
Volunteer work with.
So
Okay,
pure.
I wanted to do this thing a long time ago where I started, and the name I'm workshopping on. The name seems. I'm not gonna say the name.
No, say the name.
No.
You gotta say the name now.
Okay. Where we would get suits for people, like homeless people,
Okay.
right? And we would set people up with job interviews,
Okay.
give them business attire to wear,
Okay.
and a haircut.
What about
And, like,
Febreze?
right? And in a place to go
Oh,
get
okay.
groomed,
All
everything
right.
like that. a
I
place to
wasn't
go-
sure if it was like show up and
Yeah.
like, you smell, here's a suit.
No. It just set them up, help them get job interviews, set people up, right?
So I have this idea one day to open a line of candles
Uh-huh.
and employ homeless people to make candles.
Okay.
And the candles are going to be called the Fragrant Vagrant. That's what I'm going to call the line. Do you think that's a good idea?
I like it, but okay, my
that
name
work?
for it, is,
Or it could be the Vagrant's Fragrance.
there you go.
Which one?
Either
A
one
or
you
B,
want. No,
or-
either one, man. Either one. But
What?
that's probably what I would do. I would do some kind of nonprofit thing where I could do that. Or honestly, if money wasn't a thing and time wasn't a thing,
Yeah.
I would do theater.
You really would do
Yeah,
theater?
because
Which Shakespeare is your favorite?
I like Shakespeare, dude.
Okay.
I like Macbeth a lot, which you're not supposed to say the word Macbeth, which I always thought that was the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. I like Macbeth a lot.
Okay.
I like Macbeth.
All right, what's your favorite thing to do on the stage?
I like drama, man.
Okay, so name me something.
My favorite show that I've ever done
Okay.
was Philadelphia, Here I Come.
Okay.
Is an Irish play.
Mm-hmm.
I played a character that he's leaving his hometown. Okay. And he has a lot of like self-doubt, a lot of just he doesn't really 100. He lives with his mother's. His mother's, I think, she's dead or she doesn't. She's not in his life.
Okay.
And he lives with his father, who he's not sure that that's his real father.
Good.
Okay.
Excellent.
And so he's trying to move to Philadelphia.
All right.
Philadelphia, here I come.
Okay.
Right. And so the play is interesting because it's a lot of like flashbacks and different things. And it's also like his last night while he's in Philadelphia. So different
cool.
people that have been part of his life are coming back and all this type of stuff
Right.
before he leaves. But
Were you the guy?
Yeah, I played the public version of him. And then there was another person that played his inner thoughts.
Nice.
So
That
like
sounds actually pretty
half my scenes were with this other actor that played my inner thoughts.
And you're talking to
yeah,
your
and it was just
nice.
like him, so that's one of the favorite characters that I've ever done.
Very
but
introspective.
if money wasn't an option and time wasn't, that's what I would do. Is probably.
Would you ever write for the stage?
I don't think I have that ability.
Okay.
I don't think I'm good enough a writer for that.
Right.
I don't know how to write other dialogue. Like, I can write stand up and I could maybe write a monologue.
Sure.
But I don't think I could write dialogue.
Okay.
I might be able to write an idea and then have someone
And someone
else
come, like,
write the script.
Make it happen.
But
Sure.
I don't think I have that ability. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. I don't know. But that's what I would do because theater is no money in it.
Sure.
And it is a time killer.
Right. No, yeah, for sure.
I haven't done a play since I was in college. I remember my wife one day asked me, she's like, how come you should go do a play? And I was like, yeah. You want to never see me and never have any help at home? I was like, because what I'll do is for like 6 weeks, I'll be in rehearsals all day at nighttime. I'll go to work and then I'll be in rehearsals for like 3 hours for like 6 weeks. And then we'll do the show for 4 weeks.
Oh, yeah, good.
I was like, I'll go do a commercial while I actually make some money or, whatever.
Right.
But that's what I do. Man, hey, this was a lot of fun. You were so great. Thanks. Go
I
ahead.
do actually have a
You
story.
You have a story for me?
This
Okay.
is actually, I was like, this is the one thing I knew I had to tell.
Okay.
And you were like, we need a funny story.
Okay.
All right. So I'd only been teaching for a little while out of college.
All right.
And I was teaching this family, 2 kids, young kids, and they were extremely wealthy. And these kids were like, it's like the worst attitude in children I've ever seen in my life. And so what we're going to call them Jeffrey and Elise. Okay. So I'm teaching Elise, who's a little older, but like the age range is about 10 to 13.
Okay.
And Jeffrey is a little younger. And so I'm finishing up Elise's lesson and teaching them both violin. And Elise was actually doing pretty good that day. And I was pretty excited. But while we were having our lesson, about 15 feet away, I'm in their living room, is Jeffrey. And Jeffrey's sitting at the counter, and he's been assigned to do his math homework. And Jeffrey isn't excited about that. And you know this because he's making, little brat noises as he's sitting on it. He's like kicking the stool. He's like moving the thing, and he like pushes it, and like the paper goes flying a few times, and his mom comes in, Jeffrey, do your math. And then she walks out. And that's just happening. Just a lot in the background. And so finally, Elise's lesson is done. And I just kind of liked irritating this child, Jeffrey.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to always say his name really emphatically. And really, Jeffrey, it's your turn now to come play violin. You can put down your pencil. And so Jeffrey was like, he puts it down. He gets up and he walks over. He looks up at me. And I was like, you going to get out your violin, Jeffrey? And I'm like, okay. He gets out his violin. And he picks up his paper for his music, and it's like going crumpled, and it's obviously not been practiced. And he's like, walking up to the stand, and instead of putting the music on the stand, he throws the sheet at the stand, and it like floats down to the ground. And I'm looking down at it, looking at him, and then he turns around and walks back to the sofa and just throws himself back on the cushions. And he's just sitting there. And this has never happened. I don't even know what to do with this. And right as he is like making contact with the sofa, his mom comes around the corner and sees him, but it's too late. He's already resigned himself to the sofa. And then she like walks up and he like jumps up and he like runs to the stand and she's like, what are you doing? what are you doing, Jeffrey? And he's like, I was trying to put the music on the stand. I was trying to. I mean, he literally sounds like a South Park character. And she's like, no. And she grabs his face and tilts it towards her, and she whispers in his ear. She looks at him and says, now what do we say to Mr. Jonathan? And I had no idea what we say to Mr. Jonathan. And he says, I'm happy to be here.
So convincing.
Now, what in the world prompted this mom to tell her kid not to apologize, but just to let me know that he was happy to be here and that this is what he wanted with his existence, when he obviously didn't want anything to do with this? I don't know. But that's one of the greatest teaching moments I've ever
Of all time for you?
I'm happy to
Old
be here.
Jeffrey. I'm happy to be here, I swear. Forget the temper tantrum I just threw, but I really want to be here.
Yeah,
Mom, let me know. Well, dude, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Bandcamp, Spotify, Apple Music, all the places.
And Instagram is just at Bomethius?
Yeah, I'm at Bomethius on everything.
On everything?
Yeah, I was able to grab them all.
Cool, man. Well, guys, you can find me on Instagram at HeHeMikeP, on Facebook at facebook.com/Michael Pasvar. Make sure you guys subscribe to the show. We'll see you guys next time.